Today we're going to look at prime and composite numbers. Okay, we've already talked about it a little bit in class with the Teek's target. Okay, but we're going to be looking at it in more detail now. But the first we need to figure out is what is a prime number and what is a composite number. Okay, a prime number, so you're going to want to write this definition down on your whisk. Okay, a prime number has only two factors. Okay, so in class today you guys were working on finding all of the factors of the numbers 1 through 40, and that's going to help us with figuring out whether they're prime or composite. A composite number then has more than two factors. More than two factors. So some of you who had the numbers where you had to make a bunch of different arrays to get your number, those would be composite because it had more factors than just one in itself. We're going to go ahead and look at some examples now. So if we have the number 7, so this is on your page and you should follow along. You have the number 7. We want to figure out how many factors does 7 have. Well, one strategy that you can use is by making a T-chart. Okay, so if we have 7, let's go ahead and start with 1. 1 times what equals 7? Well, times 7. What about 2? If I skip count by 2s, will I land on 7? 2, 4, 6, 8. I skipped over it, so 2 is not a factor. You can also know this because 2, all the multiples of 2 are even numbers, and 7 is not an even number, so you know that 2 is not a factor. What about 3? 3, 6, 9. We skipped over it, so 3 is not a factor. What about 4? 4, 8, 12. Nope, not a factor. What about 5? 5, 10, 15. No. 6, 12. Now we're back at 7. Well, we don't have to write it again because it's the same digits. So this is how you write it as a T-chart. And then if it asks you to list out all the factors or to write out all the factors, you're going to list out what those factors are. So here, all I have is 1 and 7. This is how you're going to write it as a list. How you can write it as a factor pair is where you write it like you did on your page, on your factor pages earlier. A factor pair is when you have it written as 1 times 7. That's what we call a factor pair. So since I only have 2 factors, that would make it a prime number. 2 factors only makes it a prime number. Let's look at another example. Let's do 31. Okay. So if I have 31, again, let's go ahead and start with my T-chart. Okay. 31. Well, I know that I'm always going to have 1 and itself. So 1 times 31 are 2 factors. Well, let's think. Is it going to go by 2s? No, because it's not an odd, or it's an odd number, so I know it's not a multiple of 2. 3s. If I count by 3s, will I land on 31? Well, I know 3 times 10 is 30, and if I add 3 more, I'm skipping over it, so it's not 3s. 4s. If I counted by 4s, 4 times 8, or 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32, so it's not 4. 5s, no, because I know my ones place is in a 0 or 5. Go by 6s. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. Skipped over it. 7s. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Skipped over it. 8s. 8, 16, 24, 32. Skipped over it again. So this is another reason why knowing your facts is very important, because it helps you to be able to go through your multiples list quickly. 9s, 9, 18, 27, 36. Nope. 10, 20, 30, 40. 11s, 11, 22, 33. About 12, 12, 24, 36. 13, 13. 26, 39. 14, 14, 28. No. 15, 30. Well, once I'm already past half the number, I know it's not going to be anymore. So my only factors here, if I write them out as a list, are 1 and 31. Or if I write it as a factor pair, I would have it as 1 times 31. Since there's only 2 factors, then it again is a prime number. Let's look at another example. Let's look at 18. So if I write my t-chart for 18, I always have 1 in itself. So 1 times 18. It's an even number, so I know it can be divisible by 2. 2 times what equals 18? 2 times 9 equals 18. And then I've got 3. 3 times what equals 18? Well, let's skip count. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. That was 6 times. 3 times 6 equals 18. Is there anything times 4? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I skipped over it, so not 4. I know it's not 5 because the ones place is not a 5 or a 0. And then here I've got 6 and 3. Well, that's already looping back over. I don't need to repeat it. So here, this time, I have more factors. If I list them out, I'm going to list them in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to go down the row and then back up. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18 are all of my factors. If I wanted to show you the factor pairs for them, factor pairs, I've got 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. A way that you can check these is of something called a factor rainbow. 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. Just making sure you're not leaving out any factors. When we get to comparing or looking at common factors or looking at the greatest common factor, then it's important that you include all of your factors. Real quick, we're just going to look at the numbers 1 and 2 to try and figure out if we can find what those labels are. So for 1, if we were to list out the factors, we have 1 and 1. Well, if I listed them out, all I'm going to list is 1 because 1's the same thing as 1. Well, I know a prime number has 2 factors. Well, here I only have 1 factor. So 1 is actually a special number. It is not prime or composite. So 0 and 1 are not prime or composite. Those are special numbers. Looking at 2, well, we think 2 is an even number, and sometimes we think that even numbers are the same thing as composite numbers. But let's take a look. If I list out my facts, 1 times 2, well, then I've got 2 and 1 again, so I'm repeating it. So if I listed them out, the only factors are 1 and 2. Since there's only 2 factors, number 2 is actually a prime number. Now it's your turn. Go ahead and turn over your whisk. You need to find all of the factors. It says using the factor tree, but you can use a t-chart, you can draw arrays, whatever way helps you to find all of the factors, which we've been talking about in class. Find all the factors for 18, 63, 29, 53, 77, and 81. And then circle whether it is prime or composite. And then it wants you to explain. Why did you circle prime or why did you circle composite? Make sure you're ready, have this done and prepared for Wednesday morning. And have a great evening. See you tomorrow. Bye.